she was pretty cold, she wasn't nurturing, and she made it all about her, and I was always her emotional caretaker. I was always solving her problems, and I always felt really resentful for that, and she always caused a lot of drama. Is that what your friend's like? Yeah. Okay, so you've chosen a friend who's like your mother. Right, what do you do if your mother was not nurturing? What do you do if she was cold, if she was maybe a strict disciplinarian? What if she was even a little narcissistic? What if she didn't really nurture you, and or you didn't feel nurtured? What do you do about that? How do you transmute that? How do you move forward from that now? So I wanted to go a little bit deeper with that today and give you some information about how we can do that. So I talk about the father wound a lot. You know, your dad wasn't there, you attract unavailable men, blah, blah, blah. But the mother wound is an especially painful thing. So if your mother wasn't nurturing, which is what we expect mothers to be, and by the way, this is not a blame thing. This can happen for a multitude of reasons. It can be just because she doesn't have the capacity or the skill set or the knowledge, or she can be in her own illness, whether that's mental, emotional, physical, or it could be maybe for slightly more sinister means. But whatever the motivation was behind her behaviour, either way, the result is you didn't feel nurtured, and as a result, what you tend to do is to be really hard on yourself, to not celebrate yourself, to have this inner dialogue of it's not enough, I need to do more, I need to prove myself, and never really stopping to celebrate your success, recognize yourself, and to be that nurturer for you. Some of the practical ways that we can heal that is to look at the women that we're surrounding ourselves with. And if you look at your friends, your female friends, and I ask you, who does she remind you of? And you go, my mother. She reminds me of my mother. And I ask you, what was your mum like? Well, she was pretty cold, she wasn't nurturing, and she made it all about her, and I was always her emotional caretaker. I was always solving her problems, and I always felt really resentful for that, and she always caused a lot of drama. Is that what your friend's like? Yeah. Okay, so you've chosen a friend who's like your mother. And that's very, very common for women to choose female friends who remind them of their mother. Particularly if you were placed in that role of being your mum's friend, the damage that can do when your parent turns you into her friend. That's actually called parentification. And it's when you're taken out of the child role and you're put essentially into the parent role, because someone has to be in the parent role. And if your mother isn't, then guess what? You become the grown-up. And you might go, oh, well, I wasn't really a child. I was like 13, 14, 15. Still very much a child, right? And it's quite illuminating as well if you're using that language and you're saying, I wasn't a child, but you very much still were in that stage of your life when you needed a grown-up and a parent. So look at the women you're surrounding yourself with. Do they remind you of your mum? Or are they motherly? Are they nurturing? Are they loving? Do you feel held and supported by them? So that's one thing that we can do. Another thing is to look at how we're talking to ourselves, right? How are you talking to yourself? When something goes wrong, what's your inner dialogue? Are you saying things like, it's going to be okay, I'm going to pick myself up, I'm strong, I know how to do this? Or is it more like, God, I should know better than this, I'm smart, what the fuck is wrong with me? If it's the second one, we've got some work to do on speaking to ourselves more gently. And to be completely transparent, that's been a really big part of my inner work, because I very much used to be in the second camp of just speaking to myself really, really harshly. It was a couple of years I was on a retreat with Danielle Page and a bunch of other really incredible women, and that's something that really came up, the importance of really speaking kindly to ourselves, and it's been something that I've been working on actively ever since. And another thing is to, and I learned this in Danielle's retreat too, which has served me so well, and I want to really, credit her for her beautiful work and also to share it with you. And I've done this many a time, but let's do it together. Let's make sure I have a little bit of room here. So do it with me, and actually do it with me. Otherwise you're just watching me with my eyes closed, and that's weird for you and it's weird for me. So close your eyes, put your hand on your heart if you so desire. Take a deep breath in and out. Just ask yourself, how do I feel? What do I need? How can I give that to myself? Take another deep breath in. And let go. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So that's just a really, really quick way to reconnect to your needs. So a lot of the times when you hear people talking about feminine energy and you think, what fresh hell is this? What is feminine energy? What's it all about? I actually have a lot of fire. I feel like I have a lot of masculine energy. Is that bad? What the hell? And it can get especially complex and convoluted when sexuality comes into play too, because the whole thing about feminine energy assumes that you're a feminine woman dating a masculine man, and we're not all straight. We're not all women dating men, and there's lots of different combinations in between, right? So the whole feminine energy thing sometimes is a little bit of a headfuck. But what it means to me in the most basic way, and I think really the most important thing to take from the feminine energy piece, is it's really about being able to nurture ourselves and being able to connect to what we need and give ourselves that and really mother ourselves. And so that's how we heal the mother wound. So look at the women that you're surrounding yourself with. Are they nurturing, or are they kind of harsh and cold and dramatic, and or do they remind you of your mum? The second thing was to look how you're speaking to yourself, especially when things go wrong. Do you berate yourself and scold yourself? Because that probably reminds you of when you were scolded as a kid, right? So you're repeating that trauma and you're re-traumatizing yourself unknowingly. And then the third thing was to do that exercise and the questions again were, how do I feel? What do I need? How do I give that to myself? And you can do that throughout the day. And that just really reconnects you to your needs, because the chances are, your mum wasn't connected to her needs. And so she wasn't really able to connect to yours. And again, this isn't a blame thing. Even if there might be blame to be had, it doesn't really help us. So when we do that, we're able to reparent ourselves, to nurture ourselves, and to really heal that mother wound. And that absolutely is related to romantic relationships too, because then we're able to show up in a relationship with the ability to self-soothe. I was editing a video just before, it's actually on upload, just off the screen here. And in the video, I was talking about how a partner is not responsible for 100% of our needs 100% of the time. So if our partner isn't responsible for 100% of our needs 100% of the time, who is? We are. And of course, we always want to make sure we can receive support from our partner, and that's a really beautiful thing. But one of the most unhealthy patterns I see in the women I work with, and those of you that follow me and engage with me, what it seems like to me is what you're doing is you're making that person responsible for all of your needs. You're taking your ability to self-soothe and nurture yourself and feel good, and you're giving it to them and going, here, you have this, you take care of that. And what that is that's going back to a very small, scared part of us when we were little, when we needed that. So it's like your inner wounded little girl or little boy, if you're a guy, right? I usually work with women, but it applies both ways. That wounded inner child is really doing the choosing for you, and you're almost making your partner your parent. And if you make your partner your parent, it's all kinds of fucked up, right? I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.